Man, at least we didn't take an L during the bye week, right? That's something. No heart attacks. No fourth quarter collapses. No wondering how we're going to survive another week of this roller coaster Ravens season. But while the Ravens weren't on the field, you better believe we were all still locked in, watching every snap, scoreboard watching like our lives depended on it. Steelers, Bengals, Browns, Dolphins, all those games mattered. And you know what? Somehow, some way, this Ravens team still has a shot. It's a slim one, yeah, but it's still alive. Now let's not kid ourselves. The margin for error is basically zero. If this team wants any chance of sneaking into the playoffs, they're going to need to play perfect football from here on out. No more collapses. No more missed tackles. No more offensive line giving up free shots on Lamar. It's now or never. And speaking of Lamar, the good news? He's coming back. Harbaugh already said it. Lamar's suiting up against Chicago. And you know how it is when Harbaugh speaks in absolutes, right? That's pretty much written in stone. So finally, after weeks of this offense running in place, we're getting QB1 back out there. Now, let's talk about that upcoming matchup against the Bears. Because on paper, you might think this is a break for the Ravens. It's not. That team is hot right now. 4-game win streak, confidence high, and they're coming into M&T Bank ready to make a statement. Meanwhile, our Ravens? Ice cold. We've dropped 4 straight. It's brutal. Rams, Texans, Chiefs, Browns. That win against Cleveland feels like it happened forever ago. And it's wild to think that the last victory came against Joe Flacco, who's not even with the Browns anymore. The NFL moves fast. And speaking of Joe Flacco, man, talk about bittersweet. Watching him go off in that Bengals uniform stirred up all kinds of emotions. Seeing him throw darts down the field, lead a team, look like the same Joe Cool from the glory days. It was beautiful and painful all at once. Because deep down, we know the Ravens never truly built around that guy. Not like they could have. Not like they should have. When he had weapons, when he had a line, when he had a full squad, Flacco showed what he could do. That Super Bowl run. Legendary. But most years, the Ravens surrounded him with average, recycled talent. And even now, in 2025, we're still talking about what could have been if Joe had been consistently given the support he needed. So yeah, seeing Flacco shine with Cincy, that one hit a little different. But it also reminded us of how this offense has always kind of required a quarterback who can run for his life. Because the O-line, it's been a mess for years. And unless you've got a quarterback who can escape, make something out of nothing, this offense doesn't function. That's the cold truth. And then there's the AFC North. What a mess. Steelers lost to the Bengals, and logically that helps us. Pittsburgh has a grip on the division, so a loss for them opens the door a crack. But emotionally, man, it's tough. Because seeing Cincinnati win is like swallowing glass. That whole rivalry, especially the fan-base trash talk between Ravens and Bengals fans, it's exhausting. Every week, it's Lamar versus Burrow. Every week, it's Twitter wars and IG battles. But we know the answer, Lamar is him. End of discussion. Still, watching the Steelers lose helped. So I guess, in some twisted way, thanks to Joe Flacco, once a Raven, always a Raven, for keeping us alive in the playoff race. Even if he's wearing stripes now. But it's not just about our division. That Dolphins-Browns game had real implications too. Let's be honest, it's downright depressing to say this, but the Ravens are sitting dead last in the AFC North right now. Let that sink in. Last place. Behind the Steelers. Behind the Bengals. Behind the Browns. And the Browns? They've got more wins than us. That's a tough pill to swallow. Watching teams around the league thrive with backup quarterbacks, teams like the Niners, the Vikings, it just puts more heat on Baltimore. San Francisco was missing key starters, still handled their business. Minnesota had a backup out there, still looked competitive. The Ravens? Not even close. Without Lamar, this team can't generate anything. And for all this talk about this stacked roster, it sure doesn't feel like it. Now the Dolphins. Man, that team has been up and down, but their game against Cleveland was wild. Tua threw 3 picks. 3. And yet Miami still pulled it out. Tua's play lately? It's been shaky, and I've never been completely sold on him, even before he got that huge second contract. But now? Phew. That's looking like a regret in the making. And honestly, the Dolphins are kind of becoming the NFL's get-right game. So maybe, just maybe, when the Ravens face them, the stars align. These next 2 games for Baltimore, they're everything. Season on the line. Home against the Bears. Then on the road in Miami. And if they don't find a way to win both, it might be curtains. Yeah, technically they could still squeeze in with some help, but realistically, these two matchups will define the rest of the year. No more room for missteps. These are must-win games, plain and simple. The good news? The team is finally getting healthier. Lamar coming back is obviously massive, but it doesn't stop there. Ronnie Stanley's had time to recover. Chinonye Owusu's been banged up all year. He should be ready to roll. And then there's Pat Ricard. That man is a difference maker. We're talking about someone who brings physicality, leadership, and a presence that helps Derrick Henry and the rest of the offense get going. Expect him to finally suit up against Chicago, and the offense should benefit big time. So yeah, coming out of this bye, it's do or die, but the schedule actually works in Baltimore's favor. After these two massive games, they get a bit of a break with Thursday night football coming up. That gives the squad a mini bye, 10 days between games, another chance to reset, heal, and regroup. If they can win these next two, they'll have real momentum heading into that long week. But that's a big if. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Dolphins possibly shaking things up, especially with Tua playing the way he has. Head coach Mike McDaniel hinted that no one's job is safe. He said if guys aren't producing, they're going to consider other options. Imagine that, benching your franchise quarterback in crunch time. That's the kind of accountability you don't often see. Could Quinn Ewers actually get some run at quarterback? It's possible, and that would make the Dolphins game even more interesting for Baltimore. Because right now, every detail matters. Every small edge, every potential opportunity. If Miami is in quarterback limbo, the Ravens have to capitalize. Period. Let's be clear though, this team has no more excuses. None. They're 1-5. 5 losses already. That's the same total they had for all of last season. There's no more room for loyalty-based decisions. No more my guy treatment from Harbaugh. This is survival mode. And you'd hope that means we'll finally see some real adjustments on the offensive line. We've got young talent sitting on the bench. Emory Jones, Ben Cleveland, Corey Bullock. They're right there. Why not give them a shot? Because what we've seen so far hasn't been working. The right and left guard spots have been a problem all year, and Lamar's been paying the price. Yet Harbaugh seems hesitant to shake things up. That stubborn loyalty to underperforming players? It's hurting this team. And at some point, you have to stop justifying the same mistakes and try something new. We've been saying it for weeks, maybe even months. This Ravens offensive line is one of the biggest issues dragging the team down. And it's not just about missed blocks or sacks. It's about the domino effect. If the line can't protect Lamar, the passing game can't open up. If the guards are getting beat inside, Derrick Henry doesn't stand a chance. If the communication's off and there's confusion in pass protection, drives stall before they even begin. And what's wild is, they've got players on the roster who could potentially be upgrades, but they're stuck watching from the sidelines because of this loyalty thing. It's almost like unless you're a complete liability on every single snap, you're guaranteed a spot out there. That mindset has to change if they want to turn this thing around. And when you look across the league, other teams are figuring it out. Adjusting, replacing, evolving. The Ravens, meanwhile, are stuck in their ways. It's frustrating, especially when you think about how much they're paying some of these guys. You got Ronnie Stanley getting elite left tackle money, but his play hasn't matched the paycheck in years. Marlon Humphrey's been up and down, and Roquan Smith? He's been solid, but far from dominant, and the linebacker unit as a whole hasn't been the same without Patrick Queen. And that's the thing, when you're paying top-tier prices, you expect top-tier production. That hasn't been the case for Baltimore this season. There's just too much money tied up in players who aren't moving the needle right now. That puts the front office in a tough spot. You can't go shopping for an elite pass rusher or upgrade the offensive line in free agency if your cap space is eaten up by underperformers. It's a roster-building nightmare. And it makes you wonder, how much longer can they go on like this before something breaks? Before someone gets fed up? Before Lamar says, hey, I'm giving y'all everything I got, and I'm still running for my life every week. And then we look at this defense. This unit, man, it's been all over the place. Some games they show flashes. Other games they look lost. The consistency just isn't there. And it's not just about effort. It feels like a scheme problem, a direction problem. Zach Orr is still finding his voice as a defensive coordinator, but the lack of aggression is noticeable. This defense plays soft in critical moments. And what makes it even harder to watch is the fact that it's starting to look and feel a lot like the Dean Pease era. Bend but don't break. Sit the corners 10 yards off the ball. Pray for a red zone stop. That stuff doesn't win in today's NFL. Not when teams are built to move quickly, take advantage of space, and hit you with tempo. And sure enough, just when you think it can't get any weirder, some anonymous league executive comes out and suggests the Ravens should bring back Dean Pease. Like, really? That's the answer? Bringing back a guy whose philosophy already feels like it's baked into the current defense anyway? Come on, man. That's not a solution. That's waving the white flag. If anything, that just proves how far this defense has drifted from the identity it used to have. There was a time when teams feared lining up across from the Ravens. Now, they can't wait to test this group. They know they can run on M, hit the edges, get behind the soft coverage, and grind out long drives. You think about what this team had with Mike McDonald just a year ago. Now that was a defense. Aggressive, smart, physical. They forced turnovers. They got after the quarterback. They made plays. And it's crazy how quickly things changed. Feels like he was barely here before he got snatched up, and now the Ravens are back in this cycle of trying to rediscover who they are on that side of the ball. It's frustrating, and it puts even more pressure on the offense to carry the load, which they're struggling to do without a functioning line. Look, we've talked about all this, the play calling, the coaching, the player development, but it really feels like a cultural issue at the top. Harbaugh has been here forever, and yeah, he brought stability. He brought leadership. But when you stick with the same people for too long, without accountability, things start to rot. You start settling. You stop innovating. And that's where Baltimore feels like they're at right now. Safe, comfortable, and not in a good way. You see teams around the league that are bold. They make hard decisions. They cut ties when things aren't working. They bring in fresh voices, different philosophies. The Ravens? It's like they'd rather ride it out and hope things magically fix themselves. That's not how it works. Not in this league. And then there's the whole idea of tanking. Fans throwing in the towel already, saying it's time to just play for draft picks. I get it. The team is 1-5. It feels hopeless. But still, this roster isn't built to tank. You've got too many stars, too many veterans, too much talent, even if it's underperforming, to just mail it in. So unless they plan on blowing it up and hitting full reset, which let's be real, they're not, then they've got to fight. Every week, every snap, play like your season depends on it. Because it does. And again, it's not just about playoffs. It's about pride. It's about identity. It's about proving you still belong in the conversation with the big dogs in the AFC. Because right now, Baltimore's name isn't coming up. It's Chiefs. It's Dolphins. It's Bills. Bengals. Maybe even the Jaguars. But the Ravens? Afterthought. And that's not where this team is supposed to be. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. In a move that has sent shockwaves through the NFL, whispers from insiders suggest that Baltimore Ravens star wide receiver Zay Flowers has abruptly decided to part ways with the franchise. While official statements remain scarce, sources close to the situation hint at growing unrest between Flowers and the team's management, sparking a frenzy of speculation across sports media and fan circles alike. Flowers, who has been one of the most electrifying young talents in the league, suddenly becoming available has ignited a whirlwind of rumors. Teams reportedly view him as a game-changing addition, capable of transforming any offense with his combination of speed, agility, and uncanny ability to find open space. For Baltimore, losing such a high-profile player midseason, or even entering trade talks, represents a dramatic shift in strategy that could reshape their championship ambitions. The exact reasons behind Flowers' departure remain murky. Some insiders point to contract disputes, while others suggest friction with coaching staff or philosophical differences about the direction of the team. Regardless, the chatter is loud and relentless. Fans have flooded social media, debating which franchises might make a move, and analysts are already projecting the ripple effects across the league. Could Flowers land in a high-powered offense that propels him into MVP conversations? Or will this sudden exit signal a more complex tension behind the Ravens' locker room doors? While the Ravens have maintained silence, industry experts note that such a seismic shift rarely happens without long-term planning. or explosive fallout. Teams in need of a dynamic receiving threat are said to be lining up quietly, hoping to negotiate a deal before the news becomes official. Meanwhile, bettors, fantasy players, and NFL enthusiasts are watching with bated breath, knowing that this rumor alone has the potential to rewrite the rest of the season. As the NFL braces for confirmation or denial, one thing is clear. Zay Flowers' rumored departure from Baltimore is more than a headline. It's a story that could define the next wave of trades, rivalries, and on-field fireworks. Whether it's a calculated career move or a dramatic shakeup, the league will not be the same while this saga unfolds. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.